another tenured that should be coming to an end very soon, and that is the Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams now tenured in New York. This is the part of the episode where I'm going to toot my own horn just a tad bit. This is the part of the episode where I'm going to say, I told you so, just a little bit. Because I, in fact, told you so. What did I tell you? I said, there's not a team in the NFL, not the Chiefs, not the Ravens, not the Bills, not the Eagles. There's not a team in the NFL going into the season that had more pressure on their shoulders than the New York Jets. Not a one. And I also said that if you do not see, or if the Jets don't feel like the expectations that they put on themselves and the expectations that is bred when you bring someone like an Aaron Rodgers, if those expectations are not met, we will see drastic changes. And as we sit here today, with the regular season being over after Sunday, what have we seen? Robert Saleh gets fired. Nathaniel Hackett gets demoted. You trade for Devontae Adams probably more than you wanted to. We've seen disagreements between Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Now, we're hearing reports that if Aaron Rodgers returns next year, Garrett Wilson wants out. When expectations don't breed the results that you expect them to, this is what you get. There is a lot wrong with this entire Jets situation. From the ownership, I'll say it like this. The biggest issue with Aaron Rodgers being a Jet is this. And I said this, again, this is me tooting my own horn. When you have the accolades, when you have the history that you have with the Green Bay Packers, people, they're not seeing reality. They're not seeing a 41-year-old quarterback. They're seeing the quarterback that used to break records and has 4 MVPs, that has a Super Bowl in Green Bay. They're expecting you, to bring the greatness that you found and had in Green Bay. They expect you to put that on your back and bring it to the Jets. They're blind to how it ended in Green Bay the last maybe 2 years. And the injury gave you another year. Another year of expectation, another year, especially when they had to sit through what they sat through with Zach Wilson, which in craziness, like when it's crazy to think about, that was a better tenured. Zach Wilson's tenured with the Jets has been a better tenured than Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Not because Zach Wilson is better. Not because Zach Wilson had more wins, not because Zach Wilson had better numbers, but because the expectation with Zach Wilson was much different than the expectation with Aaron Rodgers. Again, when expectations are not met, finger pointing gets a lot louder. Because nobody wants to be the reason why you do not meet expectations. What were the expectations that the New York Jets had going to the season. Super Bowl or bust. When you have one of the most expensive payrolls in football, when you completely revamp your offensive line, when you bring in talent like Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams halfway through the season, you still have Breece Hall, you still have Sauce Gardner, you still have Quentin Williams, you still have C.J. Mosley, like you still have Garrett Wilson. I just talked about Jimmy Butler. And I said that your value and your talent allows you to turn a blind eye to other things that may not be as appetizing as what you want it to be. When Aaron Rodgers is breaking records, when Aaron Rodgers is getting MVPs, when Aaron Rodgers is leading your team to the playoffs year after year and building a resume that allows you to say he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, at least skill-wise. Some of the personality traits that Aaron Rodgers exudes is able to be pushed aside because he's just that talented. Well, when Aaron Rodgers isn't playing well or to the level of which you want him to, maybe not showing up for OTAs and mandatory mini camp or training camp, not showing up for that, now it might be a lot harder to overlook. Or some of the comments that he does weekly about the team, it's a little harder to overlook because your production is not what we want it to be. This season, Aaron Rodgers, at least before Sunday, if he plays, he's thrown for 3,623 yards, which is 12th in the NFL. He's thrown 24 touchdowns, which is 11th, and he's tied for 84th with 10 interceptions, with a QBR of 48.3, which is 25th in the league. Outside of the QBR, those aren't terrible numbers. Those aren't numbers that would ensure somebody to not be there next season. I mean, top 15 in yards, top 15 in touchdowns isn't bad. But tack on the expectations of a Super Bowl. Tack on some of the comments and some of the actions that you've had this offseason, which could directly point to why this season has not been great. Then those numbers start to get a little shaky. Like, hold on. You're putting up those numbers and you're 41 and the team only has 4 wins. The issue that Aaron Rodgers ran into, and I think more than just Aaron Rodgers, the issues that the Jets organization ran into is the Jets have been dysfunctional for damn near the majority of their existence. And you put your faith in a guy, and understandably so, you put your faith in an extremely talented individual. You put the current and future of the organization in a very talented quarterback's hands. But that talent that you thought he was coming with isn't the talent that we've seen in recent memory. And on top of that, you put your faith in a quarterback that hasn't shown. Aaron Rodgers' job was to put a dysfunctional team on his back and ride them to and the team was supposed to ride him to glory. And Aaron Rodgers is not that. In fact, I think what they realize is Aaron Rodgers is just as dysfunctional as a person as the Jets organization. It's just he was hella talented. And now that talent is not superseding the dysfunction. I think this is one of the biggest failures in NFL history. A free agent signing, just one of them, because it wasn't just Aaron Rodgers. They built their team around Aaron Rodgers. You went and got Devontae Adams, a wide receiver that he saw most of his success with, and it still did not work. You completely revamped the offensive line that has been absolutely terrible. You fire a coach that is defensive minded, and it's no coincidence that the defense took a nosedive after that. In fact, you fire a coach that was one game out of first place in the NFC at the time. I mean, AFC, I'm sorry. No, I'm not first place. He was first place from the AFC East. It's now reports are saying that Aaron Rodgers is not and Devontae Adams is gone next year. I think there's three places Devontae Adams should go if he wants to compete, because this is the third season he's had a losing record since leaving Green Bay. There's only there's four teams that he can go to that I think if he wants to have a chance at anything, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Washington Commanders. I still think that there is talent in Devontae Adams. I still think that I'm not going to say he's one of the top wide receivers in the league anymore, especially when you see what Jamar Chase is doing, when you see what Justin Jefferson's doing. No, I don't think Devontae Adams is on that level anymore, but I think Devontae Adams is still good enough to be a number one or an incredible number two receiver. And you pair him alongside someone like Zay Flowers. You pair him alongside someone like DeAndre Hopkins. This version of DeAndre Hopkins. You pair him along someone of Amari Cooper or Terry McLaurin. That'd be crazy. But in all intents and purposes, this was a colossal failure of a season for the Jets. And I'm not excusing and I'm not discrediting anything that Aaron Rodgers has done in his career. As far as I still think that Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. I still think he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think as a talent perspective, it doesn't get much. You can't build a list of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen and not have Aaron Rodgers near or at the top. But the way that Green Bay ended and the way that this tenured in New York not only has gone but is ending, it's hard for me to not say that this is a career changing situation, because who is going to want Aaron Rodgers after this? Aaron Rodgers has, I think that this, I don't know, because just like we were talking about with Jimmy Butler, a lot of times your talent supersedes anything else that goes on. Well, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been great all year. So who's going to want to put up with all that Aaron Rodgers comes with if this is what it comes with? Like, if you Netflix specials, it's Pat McAfee interviews where he's still talking about the vaccine and going back and forth with Ryan Clark, seemingly or passively throwing players under the bus or teammates under the bus, never really taking accountability for him not playing well. Who's going to want to deal with that from a 41-year-old quarterback? No. I think we've seen the end of Aaron Rodgers. Because when you look at the landscape of the league, he ain't Joe Flacco right now. So shockingly, outside of interceptions, I think Joe Flacco right now is better than Aaron Rodgers is right now. I don't know what team, when you look at the landscape of the league, I don't know what team wants to take a flyer, he's a bridge quarterback at this point. He would be a quarterback to play until they get the person that they really want. And I don't know what team. No, not the Jaguars. Maybe Titans. It's depending on who they get in the draft. Maybe the Titans, but I don't know. Maybe the Browns, but it depends on who they get in the draft. But I know Deshaun Watson's coming back, so I don't know. I think we've seen the end of Aaron Rodgers, honestly. I could be wrong, but what has he done to make you think that they should take a flyer on him in the last 2 years? Nothing. Last 4 years, I don't know. Devonta Adams, yeah. Aaron Rodgers, I think that we've seen if he plays Sunday, we will have seen the last of Aaron Rodgers, possibly in the NFL. And it's crazy how a player as talented as he is, scratch that, as talented as he was, as prolific as he was, as influential to the game of the NFL, of the game of football, how his career ends the way that it ends. If this is the end. And it surely feels like the end. I don't think there's ever been a great quarterback in the echelon that Aaron Rodgers put himself in. I don't think it's ever ended as poorly as it has with this Aaron Rodgers and Jets situation. At least at the quarterback position, which is crazy. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.